right, we're going to be looking at paper today. There are so many kinds of paper, and even though I think I have my favorite, every once in a while I try something different. And today I'm going to try two for the first time, and then I've got two that I've used before. So let's look at what we've got. We have Hahnemühle. Hahnemühle velour is a very soft, it feels like velour. It feels like kind of like a suede kind of soft. It's relatively soft. It comes in this particular one, it is 9 by 12 and or 9.4 by 12.6. Is that what this says? 24 by 32. How about that? 10 sheets come in this one, and it does come in multiple colors. So there is that. I love this black. I cannot wait to try something on it. But that's the velour. I've cut everything down to about the same size so we can work with them one at a time. This one I just got from my daughter. It's just a mixed media. There are 15 sheets. It's 140 pound, 9 by 12. It is a mixed media, and it has a nice roughish surface. I'm hoping you can see that. Let's get the light up here. I think I've got one light I can add. Oh, that makes a difference, huh? So this one has a nice a much rougher surface to it, but it's not like a sanded paper. So that's the second one. Then we'll look at the Canson. I just got this as well. This is 9 by 12, 98 pounds, which I was surprised. I had no idea. You can see the different colors that this comes in. Canson typically has really good paper for a lot of different things. I like to use it when I'm doing graphite sketching, and I have a lot of the mixed media, but this one I've seen a lot where people are using it for pastel. The other interesting thing about this is it is double-sided. So it has a honeycomb grain and a fine grain. Don't know if you can see. This is the fine grain, clearly. This is what's called a honeycomb. I can see kind of a pattern in there, but anyway, that's the Canson Mitientes. I have no idea if I am pronouncing that correctly, but that's the third one. And then of course my favorite is the Pastel Matte. Pastel Matte is much thicker. It's much more sturdy. 360 GSM, 9.5 by 12. This particular one, this is the palette number 7. I think I also have, each one of these numbers has different colors associated with it. This is the number 1, and it will have a different set of colors that are listed here that come with this particular, what would you call that? Well, it doesn't matter. It's 170 pounds. That's why it's so much heavier, which is really nice. But they've put their colors in kind of groups, and which is okay, but I have my favorites, and it's hard to just get that favorite. So I'll end up with, a different pad that has multiple different colors in there. You'll see this one has the sanguine, the sand, the beige, and the dark gray. These are like a sanded paper. It doesn't feel rough at all here, but it has enough of a tooth to it, and the back is just not usable. It has enough of a tooth to it so that when you're working with the pastel, to me, it has been the easiest for layering and for maintaining enough of a pigment grab. It works. It's what a lot of people use. These are acid-free. This one here, I believe, is also, I have no idea if this one is acid-free, but here we go. Acid-free, yay. So that's good. This has some cotton in it. I work with watercolor a lot, so the watercolor papers I use have to be 100% cotton before I will use them. This one, I do not know if this is, it's acid free. That's good. This can be used for wet and dry media. So mixed medias are kind of fun because you never know what what to expect. This particular one has a perforated edge so that you can pull a page out, which is what I did to get it cut down to this smaller size. Inside here it just has some different paper qualities and what they would be used for. So anyway, that's the mixed media, that's the Canson, and that's the pastel mat. So now that we have them, pastel mat right here, Canson here, Hahnemühle here, and then our mixed media. Might be easier to see them this way. This is the real soft velour. All right, there we go. I thought I'd stick with, we're gonna try with some pan pastels and see how they each react with that. And also similarly, I'm going to use the Carbothello blue and yellow, and we'll create something very simple. Maybe not even create, just kind of test out the tooth of the paper, the difference, how they feel, how they blend, and kind of give you an idea so that when you are planning, some of them are pricier. The pastel mat is definitely out of these the priciest. The Canson or the Hahnemühle will be the second pricier, and then the Canson, and then the Artist Loft mixed media. Before you invest in the pastel mat, you might want to buy a big sheet of it. You can get that usually at a like Hobby Lobby or something like that. You can buy the big sheets and cut them down instead of buying a pad like this. The prices are, it's pricey. I was really surprised. It's pretty pricey, which is why I'm trying some different things. And I have heard a lot about that Canson one. So let's start with the pan pastels. I'm going to grab my little square and we'll just kind of lay some color down and see how it reacts. So I'm going to just load this up and I'm just going to pull across here. This is the velour, and you can see how it's grabbing. Okay, let's do the same on the mixed media. Oh, I could see where I could use that. This one is the Canson, and remember this has the two different sides, and I saw somebody the other day using the smooth side, which surprised me, but I mean, I don't know. That's why it has two sides. You can see the difference. This is grabbing, where you would actually be pushing down into the paper, which is good if you're going to be doing a lot of layering, where over here, if you're going to do layering, you're going to not really have a lot of tooth to work with. So here, the Canson, same kind of thing. It's got some kind of a tooth to it. It's kind of nice. And then, of course, the pastel mat. You can see how this one really, this is definitely the one for layering. So I can get that, see how it's just kind of, let's go back on this one. I remember, you see how much softer this is. When I've worked with it, I do have to be careful because it's so much thinner as well. But it's a little bit harder to get a, I'm trying to do the same thing I did here, but it's a little harder to get that even blur. Okay, so let's try now getting another color layered on top of that. Make sure that's clean. It is good enough. All right, we're going to be adding some more on top of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try mixing that with the yellow. And if you saw my tutorial with the little bunny, you'll see I did that one using the velour, which for that project was great. I've also done a little squirrel, which I do not have in a tutorial, but I can't imagine having done that one on anything other than the velour. So there's times when you're gonna want this type of a surface. And for me, it was the quality of the fur with the short-haired animal like the squirrel. I don't know what, you know, if I could define a little bit better what actual texture, because the bunny and the squirrel both have it. So it's short, but it's not terribly short, and it didn't have to be very precise. So maybe that's also part of it. But yeah, this one really, it drags a lot more. There's a drag to it. So let's go over to the mixed media. Now you can see I'm layering, but it's also much thinner layers because it can't really, if I tap this, I bet it's going to, not too much, that's pretty good. But I still feel like I can't get down in there. I can definitely see where I would use this. If I'm going to be doing something, maybe something like a landscape where I've got, you know, it's giving me a real smooth kind of feel. See? The drag, there's no drag, it's just a real nice smooth surface. Even though it's a rough surface, it's giving me that feeling of being able to blend very smooth, just like that. So I could definitely see using this. And I think for landscapes and that type of thing, I like that. And it's a very inexpensive and definitely worthwhile to practice with for that type of purpose. Now back to the Canson, we're going to add the yellow here. And see, you can really kind of see that the texture coming through there. Let's see what happens. Lay on top. I'm still seeing that. There's a beagle, my beagle. Still seeing that come through. So I don't know what it is that, how many layers I would have to put on that in order to not see the pattern of the paper through there. Sorry about my dog. He gets wound up. Okay, so I was saying about the Canson, how I'm not crazy about how I'm seeing that texture of the paper through. So, and it's not like, you know, layering on is not necessarily, even if I'm pressing, it's going to take a lot. And I don't know if it's going to stay. Not a lot of chalk. But then the pan pastel is very good about that. Let's try mixing some blue in there. Or, yeah. I'm just wondering how much it would take. You know, I guess if you wanted a texture to come through, the honeycomb is what we're seeing here. I'll turn this over in a minute and we'll see what the smooth side does. I'm imagining it's going to be more like this. And then, of course, the pastel matte. You see it grabbed not just the yellow, but the rest of that green. So, you know, mixing colors, and you can tell how with this, that tooth, and I'm not pressing down hard, the tooth of the paper, the pigment sinks down into it. And that's what makes it, that's what creates that soft surface, but also provides the cover for whatever it is, because if you don't want that paper color to be showing through, it just did not take very much at all for me to get to that point here, where with this one, because of the drag on it, and you know, this isn't, I'm not worried about hurting my sponges with this one because of that softness. This one I would be if I had to press very hard, but I'm really not. And you can see as far as the mixing of the colors, I can mix them here and come on here. So the pastel matte just has a lot of really good qualities. The thickness of it, the fact that the tooth is so strong that it allows you to layer and add color on color without a lot of, you know, pigment required. So I mean, this is why I like this one for the types of things that I like to do, which are the pet portraits, wildlife, that type of thing. This one, I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over. Let's try the other side. This is the smoother side. So definitely smooth. Oh, I kind of like that better. I think that's actually, because this one, remember on this side, we really do see that pattern on the paper coming through. So this is the honeycomb side, it's called. And I can see all of those little places that would be considered that honeycomb effect. Where on this side, the smoother side, I'm going to compare this with that, where this is grabbing onto the pigment more effectively. As you can see, I'm getting a yellower yellow, a greener green. The layering, I'm not having to press at all. So I do like this smooth side better than the honeycomb side. It's just a matter of preference. So let's go in with some pencils. On this one, just some marks, right? I like that side better. I think this is the best. I want you to notice something where I just wrote on here and on here. This doesn't look near as grainy because the paper's not as grainy. This does because the paper is. And here I would definitely want to have, that just flew into frame. I would have to blend this out in order for this to look smooth the way this already does. The way it went on there was just so smooth. So if you're working with fine lines and that type of thing, could be beneficial. I'm going to try to go over, not real happy. And yet you see here, so going over, and this goes back to what I was saying about the tooth. Going over on this one, it's like it has nothing to grab onto. It's just not going to happen. On the paper itself, no problem. But when I try to go over, these are not, thick layers. It just won't. Where here, the thickest part's probably going to be here, and I still have plenty of tooth for that to show up. So let's put those aside. The Hahnemühle and the Artist Loft. Now, we haven't really spent much time on the Artist Loft. Okay, I'm seeing, because it's a rough surface, I was going to put for landscapes, but that rough surface is going to, and then again, that's why for landscapes, it might make the most sense, because it provides a pretty smooth surface for blending and for having, there's a lot that comes off, but it's got a pretty smooth surface for, I could see clouds, I could see hills and distant, but as far as for fine lines, you can see the roughness of the surface come through. Now, and again, it does not have near enough tooth for any kind of layering. Pencil over what we would call an underpainting. This is the Hahnemühle, and I know with the Hahnemühle, it's okay. It's not great, but it's definitely better than these would be as far as having some kind of a tooth. So this I would call second best. This I would call, these are specific purpose. So I'm not even gonna rank them. I'm gonna say the pastel matte, it's more, it offers more variety of purpose. So you could do a landscape on pastel matte, you could do animals, you can do portraits of people, you could do a lot of different things on the pastel matte because of all of those qualities, the ability to blend, to mix, to have enough tooth to allow for additional marks, additional layering. The Hahnemühle is soft. It's a little harder to blend. that softness, to get that softness. So if you're going for big areas of background, I probably would not recommend the Hahnemühle. This definitely for landscapes, but you'd have to keep in mind the fact that you'd have to have really thin layers in order. For example, let's say I was putting, you know, if I've got my pretty background and I want to put a tree, can't do it. I'm going to have some kind of other medium to go over that. And the same here. If I use the smooth side, I'm going to have the same problem. Marks directly on the paper, very nice and smooth. But like here's that rough side that has the honeycomb showing through. And again, see, I just can't get, there's nothing to grab onto. This is just one thin layer. And let's put it back on here. I'm just gonna do one thin layer, just like that. I love the way that goes on there, but now let's take the yellow. That's not bad because it's just one layer. So now let's say we actually had a color mixed, or a second layer where you've got one overlaying the other. And then let's go back to, yeah, it's gone. Very, very, very little tooth. On the rough side, honeycomb side, and on the smooth side, there's just very little in the layering opportunities there. So the Hansen, or Canson Metientes, I think it's called. Two-sided, one's a little rougher than the other, could be used for specific purpose. The same with the Artist Loft, which would be great for practicing blending, that type of thing. And also because it is a mixed media, you could go over this with watercolor pencils and blend, or you could try all kinds of things really with most of this, but that's what I'm going to use this one for. And the Hahnemühle, although if you're working in smaller areas, like I did some, you know, with that tutorial where I was doing the bokeh effect in there, I can get in there, I can put little, you know, that's fine. It works fine in that type of an environment where I'm working in smaller areas. But if you're going to be working in large areas, the ability to get a nice smooth background is a little bit more difficult. Let's go one more time. And it does do that. That drives me crazy because it is very thin. See, it's like it laid down, it grabbed it, and that's all it's gonna give me. Let's go one more time here. See, at least here, you can just tell the difference. All right, so that's our tutorial today for understanding why and the difference in the different kinds of papers, how to determine what you're going to be using it for, and how you might want to decide on that paper based on that purpose. This is always going to be my favorite, the pastel mat, but again, it's pricey. So I'm trying to be very sparing with it. This, I've had some projects that I absolutely love the way they turn out because the whole thing seems soft, and you know, and that squirrel and that bunny, they were perfect on the Hahnemühle. So I do keep that around. The Canson, I'm glad I purchased it, but I think I would definitely go with the smooth side. I really don't like having, and it could just be because it's the gray, but that's the color I thought I was going to want. But I'd have to be real careful when it came to layering. So that's what we've got for you today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and that you continue this journey. Don't hesitate to put something in the comments to let me know what you think of this comparison. And if you have other experiences or other suggestions on any of these types of paper, add that as well in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.